Hello and welcome. I'm Antonina Antosha and you're watching Head to Head on UATV. At the end of the week, we're summarizing the IMF mission work in Ukraine and Prime Minister Volodymyr Groysman's governmental report on 2017 major achievements and 2018 goals. And we're welcoming in our studio Pavlo Kukhta, Deputy Head of Strategic Advisory Group for Supporting Ukrainian Reform with the Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine. Hello, Pavlo, and thank you for coming.
Thank you.
So, as I have already mentioned, the IMF mission has been completed, and now we're waiting for the results. How long do we have to wait, and do we have the first results we could already talk about?
Well, we have to understand and make clear that this is a purely technical mission, so a bunch of technical people coming in, assessing what has happened in the country, so conducting some kind of negotiations, some talks with the government. But this is not the mission that will come and finalize the review and sign off on the tranche.
So it's kind of like a mission in between.
Yes, it's kind of a technical experts coming in, evaluating what has happened.
The progress, not the results, right?
Right. So it's more, yes, it's kind of technical level. We shouldn't expect really something big bang news from Washington after this. But what we can expect is that they will be able to take back to the U.S., to the headquarters of the IMF, the information on what is the current situation in Ukraine with respect to the reforms that are the conditions of the IMF.
If I'm correct, the main reforms they were studying is the anti-corruption reform, and they were also reviewing the gas prices.
Well, the anti-corruption court and the gas prices are the two kind of big issues remaining, two big remaining conditions for the next IMF review. But also the privatization law has been recently passed, which was also one of the conditions, and this is also what the mission obviously has to evaluate. The pension reform has been passed for some time now, but there were some kind of minor issues remaining on the table, so the resolution of these issues will also be evaluated. So, yes, the anti-corruption court and the gas tariffs are, I guess, the main issues, but there are also some
additional issues. Since this is a technical mission, does this mission actually have the right to come up with a decision whether Ukraine is going to get another tranche from the IMF or not? Or do we wait for another official mission?
No, I wouldn't expect this mission to have the mandate to come up with such a thing, but they are the ones gathering the information upon which official decisions will then be based. So it's kind of a fact-finding upon which then the decision-making will be done.
Still, how are we looking so far? How's Ukraine looking so far? Well, eligible?
We shall see. I mean, I would be very careful, with commenting instead of the fund itself. But, at least for my opinion is that Ukraine doesn't really, neither Ukraine nor the fund does really have an alternative. The freezing up the program going off track is really bad for everyone. So I really
for both
hope
sides
that,
of the treaty, right?
Yes, to literally to everyone. So this is very risky for the country. This is risky for the fund. It will risk losing all the achievements that have been done in the last few years within the IMF program, simply because at the last moment the macroeconomic situation will break down. So hopefully both sides will be able to resolve it and to do the reforms necessary for the IMF to continue with the program, and at the same time for those reforms to be kind of okay with the Ukrainian side.
Okay, speaking of the economic situation, in his report, the Prime Minister of Ukraine, Volodymyr Groysman, has stated that among the goals for 2018, there is GDP growth of 5 up to 7%.
Oh, midterm, in the medium term.
In the medium term, okay. How realistic is that?
I think in the medium term it is realistic. Again, it depends on how fast Ukraine will act, how much will be done in terms of reforms.
What exactly needs to be done in terms of reforms to actually reach that goal?
To actually reach that goal, we need to finalize what we've started on the massive reform of the business climate in this country, which was simply horrible, still bad. The protection of property rights, simply the tax authorities, I don't know, the security agencies and security services, their interactions with the business, regulatory agencies, government control, etc. So all those things that are necessary exist in every country, but were very much business unfriendly in Ukraine. This has to be sorted out, and a whole bunch of reforms are necessary from that, starting with the introduction of new financial investigation services that would be kind of a centralized agency for economic crime, and then we would get away from a situation where a whole bunch of different security agencies participate in this process, and this obviously doesn't make it easier. So we're speaking about the reform of the tax authority. We're speaking about ongoing deregulation, and there is even a draft law in the parliament specifically aimed at raising Ukraine's position in the doing business ranking, so specifically tackling the problems.
Also, there is the actual point in the document saying that Ukraine needs to raise the place in the...
Yes, it's actually in the government report. There is actually this...
now that is ambitious.
Well. Yes, that is ambitious. That is the ambition that has been present for a couple of years already. Unfortunately, Ukraine has been... Well, we are growing. We are growing in the ranking. In fact, we are growing relatively fast for when compared with other countries.
For the country that has ended up in a situation like that, right?
Yes, but still we are in the kind of... I think the last... Not the last place, but the... second place from the last among the post-Soviet countries in terms of ranking. Now, there are some peculiarities there. There are some doubts whether the authoritarian countries are actually that business-friendly, or they're just hacking, the rating, playing with the parameters of the rating and kind of manipulating it. But still, Ukraine, at least, when you look at the numbers, it's still way too low, and this can be quickly sorted out if this draft law gets passed, then implemented. If by 31st of May this is implemented, it's plus 30-40 places, so we'll jump from the 80th place we are now, around 80th, to say 40s or 50s, which would be much better, obviously.
But still, this plan, it's like the perfect picture plan. What if something happens, meaning the destructive situation we're having right now in the east of the country? Because that's always unpredictable.
The risks are high. It's always unpredictable. But we also have to realize that the bottleneck at this point, currently, for growth is not the conflict in the east. It's still It's still the absence of enough reforms. The system is still not fully reformed. So it was, for 25 years, no one really did anything. So it's a really bad situation. We started in 2014, took several years. We've made some really big progress, but unfortunately, it seems like it still is not enough. We still have to go on. We still have to do land reform, obviously. So the biggest thing that can quickly generate economic growth, it's kind of off the table because the parliament is stuck in this populist circle of prolonging this land moratorium indefinitely. We still have to do privatization.
Yes,
we have 3,500 state-owned enterprises which don't work in any normal fashion and are a major source of corruption.
And that's a big number comparing to other countries, because in other countries, like there are 1, 2, or 6, and we have...
Norm for a European country is like 100, maybe 200. We have 3,500 for comparison.
3,500.
3,500.
All right, but still, Ukraine has had a very good start with the reforms, and hopefully that we will stay on this successful path. Thank you so much for coming and sharing this information with us. That was Pavlo Kukhta, who is the Deputy Head of Strategic Advisory Group for supporting Ukrainian reform. Thank you so much for watching. Stay with UATV. Goodbye.